Johnny Blaze wasn't sure what was worse, the crushing weight of his outdated camera gear or the absurdity of his current assignment. Paparazzi work was never glamorous, but at least biker bars and late-night stakeouts had grit, real substance. This was Fashion Week, a world of air kisses, synthetics, and stilettos sharp enough to slit throats. He adjusted the laminated press badge hanging from his neck, the Inferno logo emblazoned across it, mocking him. The event's name alone made the rider stir. Hell-themed fashion? Really? The spirit of vengeance's voice curled up from inside like a slow-burning ember. "Stay quiet," Johnny muttered, ducking under a velvet rope. "I'm already hanging on, by a thread here." The venue, a reimagined Gothic cathedral, reeked of perfumes he couldn't pronounce and egos too large for the mortal plane. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured rainbows over an endless sea of glittering influencers, designers, and models who looked like they'd been sculpted by AI trying to recreate human. Johnny maneuvered through it all with the grace of a hungover. "Linebacker, Johnny Blaze, get closer," his editor Brenda barked through his Bluetooth. "I want behind-the-scenes candids, sweat, tantrums, egos. Channel your inner Anna Wintour, damn it." "Yeah, sure," Johnny mumbled. "Right after I figure out who that is." He elbowed his way toward the backstage chaos, dodging assistants screaming about misplaced sequins and models, arguing over vitamin water temperatures. The air was thick with tension and hairspray, and underneath it all, something darker. The rider shifted inside him. "Something is wrong here." "You always say that." "No. This time, it stinks of sulfur." Johnny paused. That wasn't just metaphorical hellfire in the air. His nostrils flared. He knew brimstone when he smelled it. "Figures," he muttered. "Even Fashion Week isn't safe." Suddenly, a shriek pierced the room. Cameras turned. Gasps echoed. One of the lead supermodels, ethereal and pale, stood frozen, her platinum blonde extensions now a flaming halo. "Oh, hell," Johnny groaned. A stray ember from the rider, probably triggered by his irritation, had ignited her synthetic locks. Assistants swarmed her with extinguishers and foam, shrieking in half panic, half performance. The model wailed, mascara running. Johnny instinctively snapped photos. "That wasn't me," the rider lied flatly. "Mostly." Backstage plunged into chaos. Johnny ducked behind a wardrobe rack, his fingers still on the shutter. That's when he saw it. A garment hanging under a cloth, unmarked. He flipped the cover. It was wrong. Bone-stitched lace, dark leather that seemed to pulse, and threads that shimmered like spider silk caught in moonlight. He didn't know fashion, but he knew evil. "Demonic leather," the rider hissed. The rider. "Stitched with soul thread. That's not from this world." "Who the hell makes this stuff?" Johnny whispered. A haughty voice behind him answered. "That would be me." Enter Lucian Argent, reclusive, revered, and ridiculously overdressed. In a floor-length snakeskin trench, mirrored sunglasses, and a collar high enough to challenge Dracula. He looked Johnny up and down like someone inspecting a used napkin. "I don't recall inviting tabloid rodents to critique my vision," Johnny grinned. "That's because no one ever critiques your crap." Lucian narrowed his eyes. "This crap is my magnum opus. A collection that transcends morality, darling. Fashion should haunt." "It already does," the rider growled within. As Lucian sauntered away, Johnny's eyes narrowed. Something had to be done, but how do you burn down a runway without torching your career? The next day, Johnny returned with renewed purpose and fire-resistant gloves. He slunk into the press pit, hoping no one remembered him as the guy who set Alexa Winter's hair on fire. Brenda had loved the photos, at least. "These are raw," she'd said, eyes wide. "It's like you captured the soul of panic." "Yeah," Johnny had said. "Soul's about right." The finale was tonight, Lucian Argent's closing show titled Infernal Ascension. Subtle. Backstage, models prepped like warriors before battle. Lucian's team buzzed like hornets. Johnny lingered near the demonic dress, the rider pacing inside his chest like a caged beast. We can expose him? How? You're not exactly stealthy. The rider's flames licked behind his eyes. Let me out, just a little. You remember what happened last time you said that? The parking lot had it coming, Johnny sighed. Fine, but just the eyes. No chains, no fire. He didn't even finish the sentence before a heat surged through him, eyes glowing faintly with hellfire. Just enough to see, and oh, he saw. The demonic dress glowed with an aura of agony. Trapped spirits twisted inside its seams, whispering for release. The other garments bore similar sins, each one fed on suffering, designed not just for aesthetics, but torment. This is beyond fashion. It's a ritual. Johnny didn't have time to process that before the lights dimmed and the crowd hushed. A booming voice announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, Lucian Argent's infernal ascension." The runway ignited, not metaphorically. Real fire licked along the edge of the catwalk. Models strutted down with eyes vacant, skin powdered pale, their bodies draped in sin. The crowd ate it up. Johnny's camera snapped furiously. The rider growled, "We end this now." "No, wait until..." Too late. As the final model, wearing the soul-threaded showpiece, reached the midpoint, the rider surged forward. Johnny's body jerked, the air sizzled. And then, "Whoosh!" the model screamed, dress bursting into flame. But this time, the fire didn't hurt her. It released her. The spirits bound to the garment shrieked in liberation, ghostly wisps spiraling into the air like sparks. Lucian shouted from the wings, "Security! That's not part of the performance!" But the crowd disagreed. Phones rose in unison. Cheers erupted. "Brilliant!" someone yelled. "Such raw emotion! Performance art meets exorcism!" Another gasped. Lucian's face twisted. "No, this was my vision!" Johnny, now half-rider, stepped onto the runway, chains rattling slightly, his skull flickering in and out of view beneath the surface of his face. The remaining garments smoldered. Johnny turned his burning gaze on Lucian. "Fashion built on suffering is a sin against creation," Lucian screamed and fled into the crowd. The show descended into pandemonium, but a strangely beautiful one. Models cried. Influencers live-streamed. Somewhere, a poet was already writing about it. And in the eye of the storm, Johnny took the photo. The burning dress, the freed spirits, and a flicker of the rider's skull beneath his skin. Later, Brenda stared at the footage like it was holy scripture. "Johnny, this is revolutionary." He sat across from her in their dim office, sipping stale coffee. "Yeah, something like that. I don't even care how you got this shot. The flames, the drama, the skull. This is viral apocalypse couture," he smirked. "Glad you liked it." She clutched his cheeks. "You, my grumpy little camera gremlin, are going to Milan?" He groaned. As he stepped out into the cooling night, the rider was silent. "Peaceful even. Good work," it finally said. Johnny nodded. "Never thought we'd fight demons with a flashbulb and dry shampoo." "Justice wears many faces," he chuckled, "and sometimes heals." As he disappeared into the neon blur of the city, camera slung over his shoulder, Johnny Blaze, paparazzo rider, accidental fashion icon, knew one thing for sure. Hell had nothing on haute couture.